Okay, this year is dedicated to Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi L'Ilui Nishmata. We're going to learn now the fifth and final Perek of Eicha, and then sum up some of the learning that Eicha really tells us. The previous Perek had the theme of what we lost and how we lost it. What we lost was our humanity, our ability to see what's beautiful and precious and treasure it. And what happened as a result is we lost it until all that was left was ashes. We concluded the Perek by saying that in the end, the difference between Bat Edom and Bat Tzion, the difference between the daughter of Yerushalayim, for whom the physical world is a means towards an end, and will treasure everything spiritual, and Bat Edom, the one for whom spiritual reality is trimming and a way of taking materialism and giving it force, will be defeated. Okay, in this coming Perek, which is a sum-up Perek, okay, we're taking all of the ideas of all of the prakim, putting it together, and drawing a conclusion of what we should do with it. Zechor Hashem mahayalanu. Okay, you Hashem who knows everything, remember what we had. Habeit, gaze, ure'ei et cherpatenu, and see our shame. Now, how do we ever tell Hashem to remember something? It's strange. Hashem, I think he forgets. So the concept here is that the word zachar is related to the word sagar. Rav Hirsch says that Zayin and Samach interchange grammatically. His field was philology. So if he said so, I'll take it. I don't know enough to say. But the idea is that everything is enclosed in memory. So if you ask most people, do you remember what your first grade teacher looked like? A lot of people will say yes. Then when you ask people, have you traveled on a bus or in a taxi in the last 2 weeks, certainly in Israel, they'll say yes. They said, do you remember could you see the people's faces on the bus? Could you see the taxi driver's face? A lot of the times the answer is no. So memory doesn't have to do with time. It doesn't have to do with what was long ago and what was now. Memory has to do with what we see as important. So we're asking here, remember Hashem. What happened to us, what we once were, what we went through, and see where we are. Shame. We want Hashem to remember our potential, to remember as we were once, and all the suffering that brought us to where we are today. Why do we want Him to remember this? So as we said in the course of the past shiurim, the suffering itself can bring about atonement because it leads to relinquishing control. So in the next few psukim we're going to talk about the enormity of our suffering and the absolute lack of control that we had. Nachalatenu nefcha lezarim. Our heritage, Eretz Yisrael, was turned over to strangers. Batenu lenachrim. And our houses to enemies, to aliens. So I want to talk for a moment about the expulsion from Gush Katif. I'm not going to talk about the political side of it, which is no longer relevant. The way those who thought that the expulsion was a good idea thought it would bring peace. There's a lot to say about whether it could have brought peace or didn't, but it did. The reason why there's no reason to talk about it is at present it's observable that it didn't bring peace. But even from the perspective of those who thought it would, how do they relate to it? Certainly not with alienation. Certainly not with joy. The best it could have been was a terrible, terrible tragedy of land being lost and people losing their homes. And many people, again, I'm not talking about the political issue as to whether land could be returned for peace. That's another story. But even if you thought that this would bring peace, which again, anybody sees it hasn't, how could you have not been on the side of people who lost everything? Where was the outpouring of compassion? Where is the outpouring of compassion for these people? So I want to tell you where it is. It says that our heritage was given over to strangers. We've come to accept that as normal. We've accepted that we have no right to anything. We've accepted that it's okay for people to build homes and for Arabs to tear them down and destroy them. It seems normal to us. And this is because we no longer are sensitized, not to each other and not to Eretz Yisrael. So we ask Hashem to see who we were. There was a time when we would see this as a tragedy.